ranking member of the Subcommittee on the Constitution and Civil Justice, the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Cohen. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciated Mr. Deutsch's comments about the Affordable Care Act, Patient Protection Act, and the dangers that we could see if we repeal it. And then the chairman in his statement quoted my friend Bill Clinton with some political campaign rhetoric that Bill Clinton engaged in. But he forgot to mention John Boehner, who said that basically the Republicans are going to fix the flaws on this law and put a more conservative box around it, saying if repeal and replacement of Obamacare is not going to happen. That's reality. And while I understand that the chairman calling it Obamacare is using a sobriquet that has been applied to that law, and we don't have rules that prohibit us from saying things that might use a name of a president, that's kind of dog whistle politics. We know what that's about. It's the Affordable Care Act and Patient Protection Act. It's not Obamacare, which was an appellation given by people of the other party to try to draw attention to folks that didn't like that president. So I find that a little bit difficult when we're trying to deal with an issue that's of importance and we get into political dog whistling. Medical malpractice has always been the province of the states, and no matter how you spin it, and if you say something about Jerry Brown and how wonderful it was, Jerry Brown did it in California. California is a state, and this is a state issue. And this Congress, which long the majority has been for states' rights, except, of course, when it comes to issues concerning guns and gun licenses, and apparently some other areas like marijuana, it not being a state issue. This is a state issue. And the wonderful thing about states having different laws is what Justice Brandeis said about states are the laboratories of democracy. Each state can do things in different ways, and the states can look and see what happened when they did it, and then we can learn. And one size fits all takes away that possibility. This particular bill comes up at a time when there are serious issues going on in America that threaten, in my opinion, Mr. Chairman, the core of democracy. To accuse the press of being the enemies of the people, a statement that even Nikita Khrushchev veered away from in the 50s because even that was too much in a communist country and for that particular communist leader. It smacks of against the First Amendment, and our previous president and our penultimate president, I guess, which is where it's going. I miss Barack. I even miss W. President Bush, George W. Bush, just said the other day that power, in essence, corrupts and there needs to be controls over it, and that the press is an important and indispensable part of democracy and certainly not the enemy of the people. Jewish cemeteries are being desecrated in St. Louis and in Philadelphia, and Jewish community centers are being threatened on a daily basis, it appears. Anti-Semitism and racism and the shooting of two Indian individuals and Indian nationals, one of whom was murdered in Kansas by an individual who thought they were from different and they shouldn't be in America, are alarming. And these are issues we should be strongly concerned about. And if we want to make health care cheaper, which we should, and make it more affordable, we ought to have a single-payer system.
Yes.
That would make it more affordable. And if that's the nexus that makes this law applicable for the federal government to usurp the states, and the chairman said the nexus was that it makes things cheaper, and when anything makes health care cheaper is so important that we need to take it away from the states. Well, if you're concerned about cost, you should be for a single-payer system, and that would make it cheaper and take profits away from insurance companies that right now are paying for ads to get people to buy drugs and making immense profits and having their executives draw salaries in the areas of $40 and $50 million. This bill takes away from people who are hurt by medical malpractice in ways that are artificial and wrong, and we should not be on the side of those people who commit medical malpractice and cause injuries to others. With all of that said, I respectfully suggest that the agenda we're following is not the agenda of the American people at the present time, and it's the agenda of the American Medical Association, who's here today, and this is the bill du jour. I yield back the balance of my time.
Chair thanks the gentleman, and I now recognize Mr. King of Iowa.